We must reclaim our culture. Right now, damn near every single thing we've invented is not under our culture. It's given to other people. I mean, it's so much, it's pathetic. Today, we want to talk about taking legacies. These are the things that we think should have been ours all along, but somehow it escaped us. Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the Black News Network, the real voice of Black people in the USA. Today is from the desk of the emissary. I'm your host, War Smith Bay, and I'll be broadcasting the War Report. We do not own the rights to the music, but we do own the rights to what we say. And I just want to start by saying some of these things that I want to mention have been not affiliated with the inventor. I mean, Black people were not able to get the patterns that they wanted when they were inventing these different things. And the simplest thing that can be invented, they did it. I mean, what about a doorknob? We all wonder, how did a doorknob get invented? Another Black man, his name is O. Dorsey. And O. Dorsey invented more than just the doorknob. He also invented the door stop. This is the kind of stuff that we don't have under our possession. We are not receiving royalties. His family is not receiving royalties from the invention of a doorknob. And if you look in America, every single house, every single structure with a door has a door knob. Now, this Black man invented something that's been taken to another level, and that level is astronomical. We have to get these kind of things back into our culture. I mean, what is it that you've done or you have seen that was taken from our culture? You've been walking down the street one day and you said, damn, we used to do that. That's some stuff our people did, but we allowed it to seep away from us to them. And that's not necessarily our fault. I think that these items that we invented, like a street sweeper from C.B. Brooks, these items that we invented are not, were not given, or we were not given the opportunity to patent these items as we invented them. But what we did do, we trusted. We put our trust in other people who had the connections to make this thing under a patent. And sometimes a patent would take 6 months to a year. They are not instantaneously given to people. So because a patent is not given that easily, Black people trusted the white man to get it done for them. Thereby we lost our stuff. But to bring our legacies home, we got to think about the one thing that moves this country, and that is the dollar. The dollar from the Black culture, and we've been talking about this for years, about how many times the dollar circulate in our communities. And there's not that damn many. The dollar does not circulate no more than what, seven times in our community, and then it's gone. And in reality, our dollar don't circulate at all in our community. For the one reason, we don't own anything. And we don't own anything because of manipulation, because of taking advantage, because of ignorance, because we are Black and didn't have the right to do certain things, even though we invented it. The typewriter, two Black people invented that. Burridge and Marshman, or Marshman, they're the inventors of the typewriter. The lawnmower, these are things that we use almost on a daily basis. The Lawnmower by John Burr. Wow. The Cotton Planter by Henry Blair. The Ironing Board by Sarah Boone. Just to mention a few. These items were brought to the use in America by our people, and they became mass produced by China. No matter who invented it, China invented it, remanufactured it, and sold it back to us, and we sold it to the people. If you go through your house right now and pick up 10 items and find the origin of those 10 items, you're going to find that 8 out of 10 of those items came from China. Now, not saying you like China or anything, but we're not manufacturing anything here. So where else is it going to come from? Indonesia? Where? Huh? Is it going to come from Indonesia or Vietnam or out of these sweatshops and wherever they are in India? That's where it's coming from. And it's our responsibility to stop buying it because it is knockoff and it is cheap. But our biggest issue that I want to discuss today has to do with the major lines of everything. Gucci. Why would a Black man or a Black woman be walking around with a Gucci bag, which costs astronomically? It costs too damn much. Why would we want to spend that kind of money on a bag that damn near break the bank? Bag $400-500. Women love these big ass bags that cost $400 to $1,000, and some even cost more than that. But they love these bags, and these bags are put out by people like Van Hansen, Puma, Levi, Gucci, Nike, all of these things, material things that we take advantage of. We have the disposable income to go and buy those things, and that automatically takes the money out of our community. Why would you buy these $500, $600, $700 bags? We need to get back to the basics, and the basics is what we should have in our possession. Our money is very sacred, and if we keep not playing with it like it's not sacred, then we can never turn the tide of what's happening in our communities. Let me just go through a couple of things that our people, not necessarily our people, but it's going on in this country that lets you know that you have to do something different. And if you keep doing the same thing, guess what? You keep getting the same results. And that's what we have to change. In Oregon, Mount St. Helens is about to erupt again, and we know about it. Washington State, There's a lot of road rage going on. There was a stabbing. Somebody got stabbed to death on the highway, and somebody got shot at the same incident. This is the kind of stuff we're dealing with. People are tired and upset with what's happening here in America, and the struggle continues. We're struggling to get where we need to go, but we can't seem to get there because of all these obstacles. So the best thing I can say is we need to make a difference here. North Carolina, they're starting to organize the migrants that been coming across the border. They are starting to organize and get prepared to do what they do, and it's theft rings. They go into stores and steal. They steal whatever they can get, and they come back to the pinch man and they sell it to them for pennies on a dollar, and then they go back and get some more. And right now, it looks like the stores are not equipped to stop them from stealing their stuff. I've never seen it like it is right now. I mean, all of my life, I've been all over the world. I have never seen the world operating like it is right now. Um, in Texas, two people were shot. In Bolivia, they tried to do a coup of the president, but he shut that down. In San Antonio, on St. James Street, somebody was shot. They are trying to say that these immigrants are the problem here in America. I don't think it's the immigrant problem. I think it's the people in our government problem. And why is it that every white man in the Congress, in the Senate, will not quit and go home? There have been 90-year-old white men in these units that have been created to govern our country. So if these white men are the same white men that were there when Abraham Lincoln gave out the damn Emancipation Proclamation, and they're still there, then how do you think they're going to act? Most of the people in the Senate now was born in the 1920s, the 1930s, and maybe some in the 1940s. But you know as well as I know what happened during these years. But as far as history is concerned, our history kind of disappeared up until 1960s. So when you go to the 50s, 40s, 30s, you have no history, black man. And it's not because you have no history. It's because your history was erased. They took it away, like they took away our inventions. They put us in a precarious position to where we were vulnerable. And okay, sign this document. Joe, put your X right there, and you put an X right there. And then they took that paper down to the courthouse and changed the deed on your property to their property. Millions of acres were taken from our people. Millions. That's a lot of damn acres. We have been in a situation where we've always been a reactive force as a people. If we can just get to the point where we are proactive to these situations, like right now, you don't realize it, but all these militias are starting to build, like the white supremacists. Um, they have a positive relationship with the police. They're favorite in public school because our children are the ones suffering in public schools. Critical race theory They don't want to teach our history. All this is stemmed from white supremacy. They rescinded the affirmative action bill. Now, why would a person come to you as a black person and say, well, pull yourself up by the bootstraps? I mean, you got the same opportunity we got. This is a white person talking. You got the same opportunity we got to do what you need to do. Now, how do you expect us to do what you do when you got a 300-year head start on us? It's impossible. It's impossible. There has to be some governmental intervention to get our people to a certain level. And reparations is not the answer. Now, if reparations was something like us giving people tax exemption, all black people of slave descent, uh, um, tax exemption, giving you a $100,000 stipend every year, giving you no car registration, you can drive without police intervention. Give us some things that will last forever. I don't want no damn money if you can't put these things with it, because you're trying to set us up for failure again. Now, again, these the same damn people that were around during the 1960s when we were getting our ass beat on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The same people are in Congress. They're these white folks getting 80, 90, 100 years old, and they will not leave that chair in Congress. And I don't understand it. What is it that the state people don't understand? Get these old ass people out of these seats. They've been there too damn long, and they have done us too damn wrong. You know, they know what we've been through. Why won't they do something for us? Let me tell you how this works. The federal government wrote a policy that black people, you can't just beat black people. You can't do anything to black people. They wrote a law to protect us. But then they come back and say, well, we wrote the law to protect y'all, but we have no jurisdiction over what the state does or what an individual does. You know, in other words, the federal government said, you will not touch these black people. And then you go down to the state level, and the state level allows an individual to beat a black man to death and not have to pay for it and not go to court for it. The state governments, along with the federal government's turned a blind eye to our problem. Many of us sued, and it went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, we got no jurisdiction in a state in what the individual does in a state. The state has to handle that. And the state ain't going to do shit for it because the state sanctioned it. The black codes, the Jim Crow laws, the state did that. Now, if you go back far enough, back to the Emancipation Proclamation, right after that, the same year, the black codes were enforced. And when you look at the Fifth Amendment, now, if you got time, pull up the Fifth Amendment. And the Fifth Amendment tells you that every single debt that the United States incurred will be paid. The Fifth Amendment says that it will be paid without a doubt. It will be paid. If the U.S. owes you some money, you're going to get your money. But then you move down to the 14th Amendment. Now, we just the 5th to the 14th. The 14th Amendment tells everybody that the United States of America will not pay your debt. For instance, they owe me money They tell you in the amendment, the 14th Amendment, that I ain't paying you shit. You ain't gonna do shit about it either. I'm not paying you. That's what they did. They said that. But in the beginning, they told in the Emancipation Proclamation, there's a clause in there that says, we will pay you up to $10 for every slave that is liberated. And then you go over to the 14th and they said, we ain't paying you shit. And the plantation owners liberated the slaves, all of them, based on the Emancipation Proclamation. And the United States government paid for 2,800 slaves. That's it. They said that the plantation owners did not file with the government. So they only paid for a handful of slaves, the U.S. government. But by the time more people wanted to claim their slaves, they said they ain't paying nobody shit. They rescinded the clause. But my point is, how can the Fifth Amendment tell you that you will honor all debts, and then the 14th Amendment tell you that you ain't paying nobody shit? That's what it says. Now, the 14th Amendment also says that every slave will, I don't know the exact words, but it says every slave will be, no, not a slave, will be citizens of the United States of America. So now here it is, they're issuing another name for us other than colored, black, African American, Negro. Now we have a name called slave. How can you put in the Constitution, you calling us slaves in the Constitution? Why would you put slave in there? Why couldn't you say all black people, descendants of slaves, are citizens of the United States of America? But you put all slaves. Who the hell is a slave? You know, why are you saying we're slaves? We were prisoners. Our ancestors were prisoners. You know, you create these words and you assign them to us, and you think we are supposed to just take it and run with it? And you think I'm supposed to be happy because you put all slaves are free and citizen of the United States of America? You're still telling us a lie. You act like you can't tell us the truth. We're not doing anything other than asking you to be honest with us. And those same white people up here in the Senate are the same white people that took the monies that were made off the backs of blacks during the prisoning system. They didn't do, the only thing they did when people came off the plantation as slaves was they opened up the prison system, and they went from no prisoners to about 1 million to this day. It's a lot of black people in prison, and it's a lot of black people that were taken as a freed slave, so-called. That's what we've accepted as our name, slave. You know, it's bullshit. We're not, that's not a name for our people. You calling every damn black person that their name is slave? Think about it, y'all. How can they put all slaves are U.S. citizens? That don't mean a damn thing. That's not telling me I'm a citizen. They be, oh boy, I be wanting to say something and I don't. That is not true. Look at it. So this is why you have certain scholars telling you that the 14th Amendment is BS. It doesn't mean a thing because it's not addressing us as a people. We're not no damn slave. That ain't my damn name. And that ain't what you call free people, slaves. If we're off the plantation and you've issued the Emancipation Proclamation and all black people are free, But then you come back with the 14th Amendment, which was written after the Emancipation Proclamation. I'll have to verify that one. But it says all slaves are U.S. citizens. It couldn't have been written before the Emancipation Proclamation because you were still on the plantation as a prisoner. So once you were released based on the Emancipation Proclamation, you're no longer a slave according to their records. According to what they call it, you're no longer that. So there is no way. How can you be labeled in the Constitution as a slave? I wish somebody would talk to me. Call in 210-872-2261. I want to know what you think about being a slave, because a slave in America is not, it doesn't exist. To me, it does not exist. So I don't know how you can say that we were slaves during that time, because we were not slaves. And I don't understand why we allow the federal government to call us whatever the hell they want to, and we accept it. You know, we're not, don't allow these people to call you that. Don't allow them to say your ancestors were slaves, because they weren't. They were not slaves. And I don't know why we take these insults so damn easily. We take the insults and we don't say anything about it. Black people should be standing up on the damn highest mountain, on the highest building, and telling these mofos that we ain't taking no more of your shit. I mean, you own your job, you take shit because you want to keep your job, because if you let them know how you feel, then they will get rid of you. That's the bottom line, because they own every damn thing, even the shit we made. We made so much, so many things, and we have no rights to it. They have become millionaires and billionaires on things that we made. Now, how come they have gotten so rich off of the things we've made, and our people have not had anything? We didn't get anything. We invented all these things and we don't have any credit. The printing press, Lavaletti, W.A. Lavaletti, he invented that. Ice cream molds, A.L. Crawl. The automatic fishing reel. Oh yeah, I like that guy, because his name is George Cook, because I like a fishing reel. All these things. And then they got the nerve to say in the 14th Amendment that slaves are now citizens. What the F is a slave? It ain't us. That ain't, you ain't titling us again with that name. We are not. We have to have, I mean, this is what's happening here in America. And the reason Black people get treated the way we get treated is because we have not established ourselves as a culture. So let me explain that. The Mexicans, they have an established legacy. The Mexicans, Mexico. The Chinaman has an established legacy. Chinaman, China. And I can go on and on and on with Italy, Italian. You know, I can go on with that. But the problem is, as a people, as we are descendant of our prison ancestors. We have not established ourselves as a culture. They did so much damage to us that we are not comprehending the separation that has caused us the problem we have. We have a lot of situations that don't do us right. And because we don't have a group of people that we can call one, then you can't call if you're an Italian. Let me do this before I go on. This is the Black News Network, the real voice of Black USA, broadcasting the news from a Black perspective. I have a co host that's standing by, ready to come on the show. And I want to ask him when he comes on the show that he give his perspective of why we're in this situation. So without further ado, I want to bring in a civil rights activist, a friend of mine. I want him to come in and talk to you. Welcome, Mr. Chuck Slaughter. You
Good
have the floor.
afternoon, sir. Good afternoon. So you got a pretty interesting conversation going on there. Sorry we got in here late, but
Not a problem.
yeah. So your topic today is taking legacies.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we had a pretty good. You want to know how we got here today, or what are we doing here today? Right.
Hmm.
Yeah, well, we had a pretty good conversation in church today. Was kind of interested, and we was talking about mental health, and I go back. A lot of our problems still exist because of the indoctrination of the Willie Lynch. Okay, I made that statement in church today and got a good response, and so all of us, the descendants of the people who were turned into slaves in this country, we're the descendants of those people, and we're all suffering from a form of PTSD, PTSD trauma, uh, uh, PTSD mental illness. I call it PTSD mental illness. And from the richest to the poorest, we all are suffering from it because we're still fighting to be accepted, and we don't. I don't know how we're gonna work it. How we're gonna break out of this here um, psychological lock that's been wrapped around our head, our minds. And we got to break that chain to Willie Lynch if we're gonna move out and future generation forward. We got to ask ourselves, what kind of America are we going to leave for our future generations, for future Black Americans?
Hmm.
And I think that we're on some of this organization, the coalition that we're building. We're on to something pretty good here. We had a good meeting yesterday with the Power of One San Antonio, a civic education group that empowers, um, our people. And we came out of it feeling strong about getting ready for the 2024 election. So we have to start trying to turn things around
Let me
somehow.
ask you a question. Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
How does all this tie to taking legacies? Bring it home, Chuck.
To hide the ties of taking legacies.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I just heard this term just now. What's the terminology of it?
The terminology of taking legacy is the items that we began to do, and we eventually got tired of it and put it on the shelf. And the next thing you know, another culture has taken it and ran with it and made more of it than we made of it. I mean, we could take the one that everybody know, and that's the rap industry. Black people had rap all the way back into slavery, and now you got everybody and their mama doing rap. You know, the first white boy that was successful was promoted by a black man. I mean, all these things that we started are now not ours. Just like the inventions, the cotton planter. A black man invented that thing. Henry Blair invented the cotton planter. So why is it that we have to not be noticed on the things that we created? So all these things were taken. That even the motor, the way a motor works, it was built by J. Gregory. The assembly line for the Model T Ford was designed by a black man, and that assembly line is patent all over the world right now, and that black family ain't got a damn dime from it. But that's what I mean. Like I don't even know the guy's name, but the guy who did the heart transplant and he couldn't come through the front door. He had to go through the back door, but he did the heart transplant for this other white doctor. And then the white doctor was given the credit for the patient surviving. But the black man did the work. So all the work that we do that's not recognized as our work. How many times you done something and somebody else got the credit for it? It happens all the time. And these white folks will stand up and take the award for it or anything else like they did it. And they know they ain't did shit. They take it from us and we sit back and give it to them. So they really don't have to work hard to take it because we don't want to fight. You know, I don't even know how to say the word. We have a similar to a passive spirit where we are so humble and we think we are so successful that we don't have to worry about the white man beating up a black man or a black man getting shot in the street because it ain't in my neighborhood. It ain't in my life. But these are the things that we turn our back on because they're ours. Even that man, Michael Brown, that got shot in Ferguson, Massachusetts. I mean Ferguson, was it Illinois? That guy belongs to us. If he got killed in the middle of the street, that I felt that. Shot in the back, laid out there for hours on end. I felt it, you know. And if you ain't feeling it, what's happening to us as a culture? And that's the big deal, Chuck. We don't have we've been so Willie lynched, as you say, that we have not even built our basic culture together. You know, like I was saying a few seconds ago, if you're from Italy, you're an Italian. If you're from China, you're Chinese. We don't have that in our culture. So if you black, you're African American. No. If you black, you're colored. No. If you black and a descendant, you're a slave. You know, how you gonna put the word slave in the 14th Amendment and say that's us? Y'all bullshitting us again. Get rid of all them white people in the Senate, then I think we can get somewhere. Until then, America's gonna suffer just like it's doing. It's so much shit going on. I was listening to the news the other day, and they had shit going on in Texas, shit going on in Washington State, Oregon, North Carolina, and it's not just in New York and Chicago. It's not simple shit. It's these migrants are killing police officers. They're raping and killing women. They're doing a lot of injustices to these communities and bringing them down. I mean, why is it's almost like it's an infestation? And you know, I don't have a problem with the immigrants. I know they're leaving a problem where it was a problem, so they're trying to get here and have a better life. And I respect that. Don't worry, Chuck. I'm talking, but you always can jump when you ready.
Point of water. What's that got to do with taking legacies? Okay, put it back on you. Okay,
yeah.
But when you talk about taking legacies, now I can relate to that now that I know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I can go back to the times when Bo Derek and Cicely Tyson said to Bo Derek, "You're stealing our beauty," when she started wearing braids and stuff like that.
But
Uh,
who is Bo Derek? Chuck, explain who you're talking about.
Bo Derek is a white female actress. Cicely Tyson is a black female legacy,
Mm-hmm.
a legend,
Mm-hmm.
okay, an actor. And when Bo Derek had this movie coming out where she was swimming in the water or something like that, I don't know what the name of the movie was, but she started braiding her hair the way black people did. Okay, so right there, when since Tyson told you you're ripping off Black Beauty, so that was something they took. Another incident that I paid attention to was when we stopped wearing the afros, you know, and start having to go back to the barber, and then the barber started designing certain things in
Mm-hmm.
the black man's head, and it was caught
Mm-hmm.
on. Wasn't long after that before I witnessed a report out of New York City where this is a new thing going on and blah blah this, and it was a non-black introducing it to the market.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you got barbers, Hispanic barbers, white
Mm-hmm.
barbers, all of them going back to designing in the hair, that we started, but we don't get the credit for it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think in order for us to get credit for anything that we start, we have to trademark it. If
Mm-hmm.
we don't trademark it, we'll lose it. It's the same thing with the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day with the blues and R&B
Elvis
funk.
Presley got more credit for the blues than the people that taught him how to do the blues.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
and then look at that. Bring it up to today, Chuck. This white girl. I don't remember her name. Y'all know her name. Who got drafted into the WNBA? And the commentators had the audacity to say she's the world's greatest player and scored the most points in any game ever. And if you do the research, you'll find that there was a black lady
yeah.
played basketball, and she was the one who scored the most.
And the record is still standing.
And the record still standing. Nobody, Caitlin something, nobody ever surpassed her record. So that's a legacy that's stolen right there. And the news people are so damn desperate to get ratings, they will tell a damn lie before they do the research.
Well, right here in
Make
San
another
Antonio,
white person look good.
legacies right here in San Antonio being covered up. Look
Hmm.
at what they're doing right now to Frederick Douglass Elementary. They
Yeah,
have
you're right.
they have
Good.
downplayed Frederick Douglass Elementary from, I don't know if it was a college at one time, but I know it was a high school to a
Hmm.
junior high school to elementary school. Now it's out of the picture.
Hmm.
They covered up our history with the Carver
Like the
Library.
Carver Center,
The Carver Library. They won't put G.W.
but but
Carver on there.
but it's supposed to be what's the name
George
at the
Washington.
Carver Center?
Yeah, George Washington Carver.
Yeah, George
Yeah,
Washington Carver.
yeah, G.W. Carver. If we don't know that, if the
But they
king,
don't put the name that on there.
and that's hiding out. That's hiding the legacy of George
Mhm.
Washington Carver.
It's done at a city level too.
It's a
It's done at
city
a state
state.
level and federal level.
Yes, we lost a lot of streets when they redone Sutton Homes. There
Hmm.
were a group of streets in Sutton Home named after ancestries.
Hmm.
Uh, I can't remember all of them, but some of them was Mary
Hmm.
Beth Toon, people like that.
Hmm.
Uh, but that's what's going on. So they're trying to erase our footprint in America
Why do you think they don't want us to have that footprint?
because we are powerful people. If we ever get our heads screwed on right, we can become a very dominant player in America, and especially in politics.
Hmm.
And I think they're afraid of our knowledge, afraid of our strength, That's why they try to coward our men down so they won't fight.
Mhm.
They use cowardice. Hold on just a second.
And that's a big deal as far as us. If we don't fight when people do something to us, it's not their fault. It's our fault. We just have to stop turning the other cheek because I mean I've taken so much shit in life, just to keep a job. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know if you have, but think back, you probably have been disrespected or something happened that you didn't say nothing about when you should have. In other words, that somebody disrespected you by putting your change on the counter and you had to pick it up. Disrespectful. Anything that we invented, anything that we used to do, any culture, they didn't eat chitlins back in the day. Chitlins, you can get a 10-pound bucket of chitlins for what, $5? I mean, now I saw chitlins at $29 in the state of Mississippi, a 10-gallon bucket, the red bucket that we all know about.
You're talking about $5. I remember
Look
when
at,
it $25 a foot tub.
yeah, they done went up. I
20, no,
mean, we got used to get a
20,
lot.
25 cents.
Look at Aunt Jemima pancake syrup.
Mhm.
Somebody said, I never did verify it, that she had a ball and chain on her ankle in that kitchen,
Mm.
and
I
that
wouldn't
was
know it.
not kosher. All right, we have one more guest that's going to join us today. He's one of our co-hosts, and he's been a political activist for years, and he's done so many things to get people registered to vote. I would say, without further ado, this is Mr. Claude Black, and we want to welcome him to our story today. And Mr. Claude, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good, brother. Sorry for the difficulty getting
No
on,
problem.
but every day you
All
live
right.
and learn.
So we've been talking about stolen legacies, like Bo Derek wearing the braids, running off the beach, um, Aunt Jemima being Kentucky Fried Chicken. The man stole the recipe. All these little things that black people created, and we receive nothing for it. I mean, and act like they don't exist. The recipe. I mean, that's what we're talking about. So I
Hmm.
would like to bring you in to talk to us about taking legacies. Give you a minute to think about it. Taking legacies is what we are trying to discuss. Um, for instance, the golf cart. Who invented the golf cart and the golf tee? Grant, Mr. Grant. I mean, the toilet. We even invented the damn toilet, man. I
Hmm.
mean, I'm looking at this list of all the things. T. Elkins, he invented the toilet. That's unbelievable. The photo print wash, the stuff you make the stuff come out on the photo embossing machine is Catonia J. Doctitus, Doctiticus, something like that. I can't pronounce it. All these things, shoes, toilets, comb, braids, chicken recipes.
Well, it goes. What you're articulating is the people that did the work created the inventions to make doing the work a lot easier, a lot better, a lot smoother, a lot smarter, and that was us. So it's not surprising, and it's also I had a discussion with a colleague the other day, and he was a real smart engineer. And I asked him why wasn't his name on one of these big office towers, his name engineering firm, right? I mean, he
Mhm,
was the smartest. He did all this wonderful work. And what you were talking about, stolen legacy, kind of bounces over to that argument is the fact that we had no power to control nothing.
mhm,
Our ideas, our thoughts, our geniuses were all stolen from us.
mhm.
You
So
know,
as
and
an engineer, he was creating content, and then they were taking credit for it.
right, taking credit for it, building a
for what he
firm
did.
off of his ingenuity, his creativity, his smartness, his intelligence. I tell people all the time, like about Soul Town in North Carolina, Soul Town, North Carolina. You
Mm,
know, there was a bunch of those cities under the Nixon administration to create these model cities around the country. The most famous one is right here in Houston, the Woodlands. They
mm,
got the same funding from the government to start those communities, but because of racism with Jesse Helms in North Carolina, that black man was not successful in
mm,
building Soul Town. The guy from the Woodlands got the same monies from the federal government, but because he didn't have no political opposition, he was
mm,
able to develop wealth and a community that is one of the prominent middle class communities to this day.
mm,
And so throughout society, we have examples of
mm,
what you're talking about. All these creations, all these wonderful ideas didn't come from white minds because they
mm,
wasn't doing the work.
mm,
The ideas to better the society came from people that was actually doing the work, which is
mm,
one of our salient arguments
mm,
frequently is the fact that black people built this country.
mm. One,
Like I'm sure that the guy that created the guy that started Amazon or this other guy that's with the Teslas,
Basil.
Basil, I'm sure them ideas didn't come out of their head.
Mm,
They just had the resources to take an idea and move forward with them because they weren't burdened with the kind of racism or lack
mm,
of resources that the people that probably came up with the idea had. I'm sure it didn't come
mm.
from them.
The biggest thing I see in our culture, how we allow so many things to slip through our fingers and end up on their on in their hands
That's
is
true.
unity. We have no unity. I mean, if I was saying a few minutes ago, if you see something like somebody disrespecting a black person or a police killing a black person, we don't think that bothers the rest of the country or affects the rest of the country. All of that stuff is like a pickup for these right white supremacist organizations. They saying they sitting back there, yeah, get you another one. Get you
But
another.
but one of the problems, I mean, you grew up in Mississippi. You understand the role that Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier had in the struggle in Mississippi. Where are those kind of black people today?
Hmm.
That
We may,
that that that, that come out that is part of the black bourgeois, and Sidney Poitier and Harry Belafonte wasn't even American. They were from the Caribbean.
mhm.
That's that
That's
that that
the
that's
way it is in San Antonio too. They taking the money from the MLK Commission and giving it to another individual from Africa.
Yeah. But what I'm just saying is, I think that the American-made Negro is kind of a unique person.
Hmm. See, now we're a Negro.
Yeah, I
We
know.
were- I
Well.
was talking
I said
about
the American-made.
I
Well,
knew it was
but
coming.
I'm going back to. I'm trying to keep it related to what you're talking about.
the time frame. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
no. Whether it's the time frame or not, what I'm saying is that people like Harry Belafonte, who risked his life to bring uh, that $75,000, which back in that day was a lot of money, to
Hmm.
SNCC down in Mississippi, so they could continue the voting rights efforts.
So Mega Evers could keep it going.
Right? They risked their lives
Hmm.
to do that.
And then they took away Mega Evers, which was a big thing. That was pretty sad.
Yeah, and I'm just saying that whether you're talking about our ideas being stolen or whatever, we just don't have the people in place then or now to prevent it from happening.
A few minutes ago, I was talking about the word slave, right?
Hmm.
I mean, you already got us a name as a Negro, a N word, a colored person, African American, a black, and now on top of all that, you want to call us a slave. Because in the 14th Amendment, it says all slaves are now U.S. citizens.
You really got me thinking about that 14th Amendment though.
It's sad that in the port, like I was saying earlier, if you, I'm going to just repeat it if you didn't get a chance to hear it. You go to the Fifth Amendment, right? It says that the United States will honor all debts and they will pay whatever they owe. That's in the Fifth Amendment.
Right.
Then you go to the 14th Amendment. It says that the United States will not pay a damn dime to anybody because we don't owe nobody shit. They don't say it like that, but
But
that's what
that's what they. Yeah.
the 14th Amendment. And they refused to pay for the slaves' liberation. They paid 2,900 some people for 2,900 slaves. That's all they received payment for. The rest of the slaves were that came that were liberated. By the time they had claimed, they had already implemented the 14th Amendment, where or ratified the 14th Amendment, where you couldn't claim money from the government. So now that puts us in a precarious position because we're we're coming out off the plantation. We're happy as hell. We ready to go and do our thing. They start because they didn't pay. They started the black codes, and also because the government didn't pay, they took 200,000 Southern people, and especially the generals, the colonels, the officers that were in the Confederacy, and they gave them the oath of amnesty and made them citizens again, and gave them jurisdiction over the states. So now it puts us in a position where we have to pay homage to these people that were in favor of slavery. So they're putting us back, they're figuring out a way to get us back into slavery.
But
They
brother,
arrest us. Huh?
but brother, it's whiteness. I mean, look back in World War II when
Mm-hmm.
when the German captives that were brought to America,
Mm-hmm.
that were imprisoned, that were treated better
Mm-hmm.
than the black soldiers that were serving at that time,
Mm-hmm.
were treated better.
Yeah, I know. I remember.
Black German, I mean white German. What was the common
Enemy. The
denominator?
enemy.
Enemy. They were white. Their white skin had privileges, even though they were the enemy of this country.
Better than
And
what
that,
we.
better than what, and you had black people serving in the military that was treated worse
Mhm. Do you know?
than the enemy that was here in prison. The Germans could still wear their uniforms. They had freedoms that black servicemen didn't have. So it's white skin, man.
Color of
It
your skin that
Talking,
dictates.
talking about the
it
talking about the soldiers and things like that. Y'all know they are getting ready to bring back the draft, and with the way things are going on around the world, they finna put some people on the ground,
Mm,
probably over there in Ukraine and on that border, because if Trump wins, now I tell you a statement he made on at the thing. He said, "I can end the war in between Russia and Ukraine before I take the presidency." That indicates to me that this war is about getting Trump reelected to the United States, and they're gonna come up here, and Trump's gonna write a letter to Putin telling him blah 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 blah, and Putin gonna pull back, giving
you know,
Trump credit.
I sent a thing out. I've been thinking about that debate. I'm trying to figure out what's a black job.
I know. What is a black job?
Trump said that the immigrants was taking away black jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been trying to
Dig,
get people to
digging,
help me
grave
define it.
digging, uh, McDonald's worker, Burger King worker,
Those are black jobs.
Well,
nurses. Yeah.
That's
okay. Who built the highways and railroads?
well.
Black.
So you're saying that those are black jobs? I ain't seen a black person on a highway crew
That's
in
what
I,
I'm talking
Texas.
about. That's what I'm
I
talking about.
definitely haven't seen one here in
Not
Texas.
only did Trump make that statement, Vicente Fox several years ago made the same statement. He said, "Well, now immigrants are only coming to America to take the jobs that
No,
the
no, no, not the jobs. Trump said they were coming. They was taking black jobs. So I'm trying to figure out what the black jobs are.
construction." Janitor work.
Nobody can figure that
Things
out in his
that
mind
common
because
sense.
So you saying
he's
janitor work
thinking
is
of
a black
something
job?
different than what we think.
No, wait a
We
minute. You
many
saying janitor work is a black job?
many black
Well,
families
we
will
can't
speak
tell
off
a
from
black job
janitorial
unless we go
services.
back to Trump and ask him what are black jobs.
There you
But
go.
the comment black jobs need to be clarified for him saying that in that debate. That's the only way we're gonna know what black
Well,
job.
I'm just wondering why didn't Biden challenge him?
Mhm.
That's why it was called
Well,
a debate.
Biden was not in his normal self during that
He
debate.
shouldn't have even been
Girl,
up.
you being so kind.
And well,
That's
you know,
probably my
I just
most
think he
kindest
had a
statement
hard
I ever heard
time.
in my life.
He had a hard
That's the
time.
thing out there say he's probably on medication.
Yeah, he was a little off kilter.
I mean,
Hey, guys, in
I
about
watched
two
his
minutes,
rally. I
we
watched his
cut.
rally the next day. He was more overt. His
Yeah.
voice was stronger. You remember you said something about his
He
voice.
he wasn't
Mhm.
in a
He
debate. He was
wasn't
reading from a
exaggerating.
In
teleprompter.
about 2 minutes, guys,
But
I'm gonna
Chuck,
have to sign off because I gotta go do something. But
okay,
you guys carry on the conversation long as you want to, if that all right,
no problem, brother.
and try to stay on topic with the taking legacies if you can, or go where you want to go with it. It's y'all show while I'm gone.
All
All
right.
right, I
Well,
appreciate you.
we'll let you take.
This is the Black News Network. I'll be signing off. Our co-host, Mr. Claude Foster, Mr. Chuck Slaughter, will continue the conversation, and we thank you so much for being a member or a listener to the Black News Network. Like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and we really do appreciate that. We'll see you next Sunday at 3:30 and next Wednesday at 6:30 for a seminar. So if you didn't get the email, let me know and we'll get you in there. So with that, I'm out. Have a nice day.
See you, brother. No, Chuck. To go back to what Brother Bay was about the legacy and about the owning the rights to inventions and creations. It's the American way. I mean, when you look at how everything's been stolen from black
Well,
folks.
yeah, I mean, even their education. It's the first thing they stole was the education. When you don't educate the people, they don't know how to take care of themselves. They have to depend on you for everything.
Right.
Yeah, we created our ancestors created a lot of stuff, did a lot of good things for this country, but because of the lack of the right education, they didn't know how to protect it. They didn't know how
Well,
to get.
even with education, how would they gonna protect it in a system of Jim Crow
I guess back in the day, I don't know if they had patents, but one of the things that we lose on is we don't when we create something design something, we don't put a patent on it.
yeah, but I don't think any of those laws applied to slaves.
That's what I'm saying. Back in the days, it probably didn't apply, so they just stole it.
I mean, if you was working on the plantation and you came up with a you set in the and came up with a sharper nail, and I don't think you can go out and get a patent for it, could you?
If it's unique,
I mean, even during slavery, when you had no rights on any level.
well, that's what they done
I mean,
stole.
so anything that happened prior to the Civil War and the emancipation of African Americans and the changing the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, I don't. Black folks had no rights that the white man had to adhere to, and they definitely had no standing under any kind of laws for any kind of patents or any other kind of inventions attributed to them prior to the Civil War. And I'm sure they came up with a lot of different ways to do jobs better or inventions to make tasks better. But the white man took the credit and got all the spoils because he had standing in court so he could go in and get a patent on that idea that the black man created, and the wealth is created within that family, and the black inventor never saw a dime of it.
Yeah, that's right.
And so,
And the same thing you're jumping way back then, but that's been going on continuously. The musicians, all the music that they created, and you know,
well, I mean, look at Elvis Presley. Look who he stole from. I mean, all the white artists that copied from the black entertainers of that time period, and because they could get the legal aspects of their business in place, whereas the black person couldn't, wealth was created. I mean, look. I mean, just look at that whole genre. You know, they don't do it today because the rappers, you know, they got lawyers and stuff
well,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah, the
But
young
back in
people,
the day, we had no rights.
they're taking control of all their music and the rights to their music and their whatever they call it, libraries and stuff. No, they take control of that stuff, and I agree with them. That is one place that I don't. I think they didn't go backwards. They strengthened it and went forward with the music industry. But see, a lot of times when our young people they want to break away from the tradition, you see, in other words, these rappers they expanded the tradition of entertainment, but now we control our own destiny.
But isn't it also a certain mindset? The engineer I was talking to, the brother I was talking to about, you know, he was a little bit conservative, and he was telling me how, you know, how black people need to lift themselves up by their bootstrap and work harder and get away from nonsense. And that's when I challenged him about the fact that, you know, you're a very bright person. Why isn't your name on the tallest building in Houston saying black engineering firm? You know, if you're so good, if you did all this and you did everything right, and you're the smartest person in the room, why isn't your name on that building?
So what's his name?
It doesn't matter what his name was. Blank
Doesn't matter.
law firm. I mean, engineering firm.
It's
My
gonna be
point
black.
was
It's gonna be called a black law firm. I'm saying
no, 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 no. What I'm saying, his argument was that black people just need to. He was a conservative, and his position was that the reason why certain people don't make it is because they don't try hard enough. And the point I was trying to show him was that you tried hard enough. The person I was talking to tried hard enough, did everything right. So why he didn't rise all the way to the top? What stopped him? And what I was trying to show him that there's a that this argument that conservatives try to make that black people are not trying hard enough is not a valid argument. Because the conservative black people that try to make that argument are examples in and of themselves. Because otherwise they would rise to the top or would have risen to the top,
Mhm.
if not but for. So when I hear a conservative make that argument, they are a prime example of the argument against what they're saying. Because they're trying to say that the blacks that don't make it is something that they did. That's the
Lazy,
conservative argument.
sorry, want to sit around and wait for somebody to give them something.
Right.
That's the brand they
But
put on.
but when a black conservative makes that argument, they're making an argument against themselves.
Yeah.
Because if that was true, why didn't they rise to the top?
You
And
know,
so, go ahead.
like this music thing with the hip hops. I want to elaborate on that a little bit more because we were saying that they have control of their destiny and all that kind of stuff. They really don't. They
Well, I think
really
I
don't.
think Jay Z does. I think
You
Jackson
know
did.
who got 90% control over the hip hop industry? It's three companies, three record companies. One of them being Sony, and I can't think of the other two right off the top of my head right now. But Sony is one of the major ones.
Right.
So there's a correlation between the rap music and the prison industrial industry. Okay, and on the other side of the coin, Black Black Hawk and a couple of other uh, major organizations control 90% of the prisons. So their contribution, the rappers are their music is not only degrading and tearing down the structure of Black American families, but they're sending a huge number of blacks into the prison system
But Chuck, how are they? How is the how is that so?
because they promote drugs, prostitution, degrading the women,
Well,
violence,
let me ask
guns,
you. Let me ask
everything.
you. Let me ask. So you're saying that a person you can't like the music and not like the style. So you're saying that that music is so powerful that it would take a person and cause that person to degrade themselves and not they don't separate the music from the from
You and I can handle it. We're adults. We can handle it. But you take a 13, 14, 15-year old whose brain and mind is not fully developed and don't have leadership in the home, this stuff takes an impact, may have an
but that's
impact
why you have but
and
that's what
lead them.
that ain't the music. That's the lack of parental guidance in the home.
Double jeopardy.
That's the lack of parental guidance in the community.
Double
But
whammy.
but but
But
what? So it ain't the music. You can like the music. I like listening to
I
uh
say, you and I are older. We can handle it. It don't
uh,
influence us. It's not an influencer to us or to mature people like us. But for some of these unmature, immature people whose brains are not developed fully yet, it's a branding mechanism for them, and they go out here and try to mimic this stuff, sell the drugs.
well, how do you know? But how do you know whose brain's not settled yet?
Well, scientists will tell you that. They
But I
tell
mean, how
you,
do you know? How do you know which children are coming from stable homes where they're being taught the difference? I mean, just because you listen to a beat of
look, we
music,
live in this society, don't we, brother? Don't we live in this society? Don't we
but
look at the things around us every day? What's going on?
but what I'm saying is, what you're saying is, so you're saying ban the music that we shouldn't have the music at all?
I don't think we should. I think this is America. You can do what you want to do, but I'm just saying. I think rap music, hip hop music, is a deterioration of the black family.
Okay, and Elvis
And
Presley.
now you got these rappers supporting Donald Trump, which means what? They're throwing more white people into the house of fire,
So
aka the safety
so
net.
so you're saying that Elvis Presley shaking his ass and stuff didn't destroy the white family?
All Elvis Presley did was show white folks how to make $1 million by dancing like a black man.
So why can't the rappers make their million?
If they're gonna make their millions off of destroying their family, their people,
But
then they're
Elvis,
wrong.
but how come Elvis didn't destroy the white families?
He was teaching them how to make money. Why do you think Vanilla Ice, and all these white folks come out here trying to sing and dance like
So
black folks?
so black rappers don't
You were
teach how to
teaching them
make.
how to make money.
So black rappers don't teach them how to make money.
No,
So what did Elvis and stuff do? How did they teach him how to make money?
I don't know how they taught him, but I know what his statement said, and I know what I've seen white folks do. He told if you
I
can
don't want
sing
to get.
and dance
I
like,
don't.
he didn't say a black man either. He said you can sing and dance like an N, you can you can be a millionaire. So that was a positive uplifting for white folks. But when the rappers come out here and they start, back in my day, we sung about love and happiness. We love about love and joy. We made a lot of babies during our time. But now these rappers coming out here that done degraded the women, degraded the values of our family, structure of our culture. They are really the key to destroying the melanated people in this country. I must say.
Well, Chuck,
And we don't. We
I
as
have to
black,
I
we
have
as
to
black leaders don't challenge it.
I have to respectfully disagree with you on everything you just said about that
That's all right. That's your right. But
because
it's also my right to
that
have an opinion, and I'm thinking from the people in the well. I ain't talking about all the success I've had. I haven't had enough. I had some success because when I was born into slavery, working in the cotton fields, chopping the cotton. But I raised up so high to now I'm not at the bottom of the rim of the lower income or poverty stricken people. I'm on the higher rim. I'm the third. I haven't made it to the middle class yet, and I probably this is probably where I'm going to stay. So I never got out of poverty. So you're talking to a man here. That's why I want to be a voice for the disenfranchised and people that are living in poverty today, because they don't have a voice and nobody wants to give them one. Our people that's got the money and the resources to help people that look like them will not put the money, invest the money into the black culture. And we can do it. We can do it real easily. And it ain't going to happen overnight. It's like we said at the meeting yesterday with the Power of One San Antonio. We talked about you too. It ain't going to happen overnight. It's got to be a process. It's got to be a step by step process to you know to get people out of poverty. You know, give them their independence back. And again, I asked the question: what kind of America are we as black folks going to leave for Black America? You know,
Yeah.
are we
Well,
going to
I,
just leave our people to suffer in a burning house and to be taken care of by the government and the safety net? Or are we going to do something about, like other cultures do, create some jobs, put them to work, and get that respect and dignity back? Take it back.
well, to go back to what the hosts encouraged us to continue to talk about uh, uh, in terms of what African American inventions that got attributed to someone other than the inventor. Uh, I mean, I really think if there was a way to right that wrong, just like the civil rights movement righted wrongs, I think when you're talking about economic advancement, when you're talking about closing the wealth gap, you got to address those kinds of issues because it's those issues, it's those stolen legacies that created the wealth gap. So you can't close the wealth gap if you don't go back and address some of those stolen legacies, whether it was stolen inventions, whether it was lack of the promise of 40 acres and a mule, whatever that stolen legacy was, that has to be redressed. Otherwise, you're going to continue to have that people at the bottom of the well, that hole, if so to speak, because those issues have never been addressed.
It's only going to get bigger, and I think
So how would you let's go back to the promise of 40 acres and a mule. That's going to take some kind of legislation to right that wrong. Let's go back to the inventions, the stolen inventions. That's going to take some kind of legal remedy to solve that. I don't see our political leaders, and I want to applaud Brother Bay for bringing up subjects like this because these are issues that neither party talks about. The Republican Party or the Democratic Party. We just watched 90 minutes of bullshit. They're not addressing this issue. They're not trying to talk about how to close that gap between Black America and the rest of America. They're not. We're at the bottom of all the groups in this country. We've been here the longest, but yet we're at the bottom for the very reasons that Brother Bay talks about. Those stolen legacies, those the fact that we never got the 40 acres in the mule, and the fact that no politicians are addressing that issue to this day. The fact that inventions were stolen, ideas were stolen from descendants of people that are still alive, that are here today. And until we address those kinds of early wrongs, we would never close that gap. And I think that's why Brother Bay brings these subjects to our attention, because this platform provides us to put it out there and to get people to start thinking. Because you can't, we will never have an equal society when it comes to African American until we address these past wrongs. Whether it's health care, with every black person in this country being, I think, a victim of PTSD because of slavery, Jim Crow, and all that, but it's never been
PTSD
addressed.
mental health. PTSD mental health.
But
We
what I'm
we
saying,
we
but what I'm
talk
saying,
about
Chuck,
we talk
none of
about
the,
church today.
but none of these issues these types of issues, got to be understood, talked about amongst the people, and then there has to be a political remedy. We're not going to have a revolution, so the only remedy going to be political. The government is always, you hear in the news, the government to this day pays other groups for the past wrongs, but except for African Americans. It's like African Americans were slaves and we freed you, and so that makes us all equal. Okay, Master freed us, so but nothing else matters. Okay, you're free. It's like Brother Bay say, one day you're a slave, the next day you're free. Duh. Then what? You ain't really free. We are not really free today.
Right.
Because
But we're better off today than we were the first day they got free.
well, Chuck, that's relative speaking. That's relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Man, I mean, we're better off today
But the
because
reason why we're not any further down the road than we should be, because we're still fighting about things that happened in the past or talking about things that happened in the past. And basically, we're keeping a lot of our people that
so.
are
I mean, I got to push back
in
on
the
you.
past.
I got to push back on you. What are we talking about that's in the past? There's nothing in the past when it comes to black folks.
But
The past is the present.
the inventions happened in the past.
Yeah,
How many inventions have we made since 1900s?
but Chuck, what I'm saying is the inventions may be in the past, but the rightful person that was awarded and recognized for that invention and benefited but that invention hasn't been righted.
Well, that may be true, and if there's a way to make that a
I mean,
right,
we're constantly
You know,
making corrections to history,
basically,
and
we,
for everybody and everything except for black folks.
yeah, well, we got to do something for ourselves eventually, and I know that's
Well,
what we
Chuck,
have.
what you saying? We got to do something for
We
ourselves,
got to quit.
but you keep relying on this status quo two-party political system to
Now,
right those wrongs.
you see what that name said down there? Oh, well, Black Independent Voters Association. I ain't riding on a two-party political system.
Well,
As a
you
matter
keep
of
talking
fact,
about one party
we
over another
talk,
party. You keep
we
saying
talking
that
about
you
the
keep
other
saying
day.
that you keep saying that this party is better than this party. I mean, you're a liberal Democrat. Let's face it. I mean, you're a
Look,
Democrat.
yeah, you call me what you like, bro. But
I'm not calling you
know
what
what
I
I
like.
want.
I'm just saying.
I want to know what I want to be, and I want to be an independent thinking voter with an agenda. I don't want to carry to neither party. I will take it directly to the politician that's asking for my vote. Now, if you
Okay,
take my
so have
agenda
you
on your
so
vote,
so this issue that we're talking about, this past injustice when it comes to inventions
I
by
think we're
African
wasting a
Americans.
lot. I think we're wasting a lot of energy that we need to talk about going forward. We need to be talking about things that's happening today and what the plan is for taking care of our people in the future. If you continue to live in the past, we cannot move forward.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, brother. The past is never the past. The past is never the past.
Well, I got
I
a
mean, I
past.
mean, I mean, the
I got a
United.
past, and I don't
Wait a
think
minute.
about that much.
The United States done built monuments so you don't forget the past. You can't go to Washington D.C. without being reminded of the past. So the past is not the past when it
But
comes to certain people.
past is history,
No.
and like one of the members on the thread said before, we need to spend about 20 to 30% of our time talking about the history, but 80 to 70, 80% of our time talking about how we're going to survive in the future. Let's stop talking about history made and start making history, and this time documented and protected. You see,
Well,
we
so
talked about building.
I guess you don't believe in reparations.
Of course.
That's but that's
Yeah,
the
I don't
past.
believe it, but I don't. I believe that we should be receive
But that's
reparations.
but that's the
The
past.
reality is, will we?
But that's the past.
Huh?
That's the past.
Reparations is something that just came up here in the last.
No, there's
years.
discussion about it, but the reparations is based on the past. You said forget about the past,
Okay,
but
yes.
you say don't
Yes,
deal with.
So
What you
we'll
say
talk
don't?
about the free labor in the past. We can talk about that because we're trying to get paid for it.
But it's in the past. Let's move on. That's
That's
what
it.
you just
It's,
said.
it's one of those issues that we're trying to get paid for.
But you said the past was the past. We need to stop talking about the past and focus on today.
Okay,
That's
I
what
said
that's what
that.
you said.
I'll accept that. But I'm saying on this particular issue right here on
Okay,
reparations,
so there are
so yeah,
exceptions. There are exceptions for Chuck
it's for
Slaughter,
this for this one.
but for Brother Bay and
This
Brother
is because
Foster.
this is about going forward.
So for
Reparations
brother,
is about pushing
so
forward.
so Brother Bay and Brother Foster, we can't talk about the past. We can't talk about the mental
No,
health.
I can't. I'm here with you on that, but we can't keep our people closed minded in the history. We got to open their minds up and let them know what you can do going forward if we pull together as a group, as a unit.
So why couldn't we, to address all of this? Why couldn't we change? Why can't we focus politically on changing the Constitution to address those wrongs or those slights that's in the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment? Why aren't we vigorously talking about that, about the the, 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 the inadequacy of those amendments as it relates to us, and building the groundwork and the force necessary to change the Constitution? And you know why we don't? And you know why Brother Bay got to bring these issues to this platform? Because we don't do that. Because we either too busy talking about the Republican Party and then praising the liberal the Democratic Party that's full of the agenda which has nothing to do with us. And so that's why he puts this on this platform. That's why he encourages us to talk about it, because nobody's going to value us but us. And our politicians, our intellectuals, our educators, we're not on the same page when it comes to the past and on how to address the past. And that's why we are where we are. And that's why those past, because some of this is going to require changes to the Constitution. If we put a tenth of the energy in addressing the past wrongs through legislation and constitutional amendments, as the liberals do for their agenda, whether it's abortion or whatever, maybe we can get somewhere. But we're driven by a liberal. Right now, the local newspaper here did a whole black newspaper did a whole paper on the LGBTQ plus agenda. That's the liberal agenda. What I'm saying is, Brother Bay is right in bringing these issues forward, and they may seem way out of place or way out of line because it's a black issue, and it's talking about how do we address the inadequacies that were put in place to address slavery, but nowhere near addresses the consequences of slavery. The 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. But you don't hear no political discussions in the communities about that. You don't
Well,
hear no political discussions
we
about.
should have those discussions led by the politicians that we put in Washington D.C. The
Yeah,
Congressional Black Caucus.
but
Congressional Black Caucus should be
the
leading.
politicians only do what their constituents demand of them to do.
They have,
Right now, the Congressional Black Caucus and the liberal black agenda is focused on the loudest voice, and the loudest voice today is not black folks. It's the LGBTQ folks. It's the abortion rights folks.
but then
That's who have.
we got
well,
to do something about it, right?
but
Don't we have to do something about it?
that's what Brother Bay is talking about. That these, in order to do something about it, in order to mobilize people, you got to help them understand what you're mobilizing them for.
Yeah. But I'm
You just can't say
mobilizing,
Trump is bad and Biden's good,
I'm
and
mobilizing.
expect a person to all of a sudden become an independent voter. You got to give them some meat with that argument.
Look, I'm telling you right now, I'm mobilizing with the Poverty Vote America campaign. We're mobilizing the poor And the reason why we're mobilizing them because they are under a threat and they don't know it. But when they get this new legislation, and if Trump get in there and they change the Supreme Court and all that kind of stuff, we letting them know what you have to lose politically, like your child income tax credit, your wage income, earned income tax credit, other issues that I got a red card around here I need to bring out, but other issues that have an
But
impact
but but but
on your
but,
lives because of the politicians
but
that's in
see Chuck,
Washington
but see
D.C.
Chuck, here you go again. Those issues are being advocated by a group other than black folks. Child income tax credit affects more than black folks. In fact, the majority of the people that it
Okay,
affect, let me hear me out here, are not even black. So those are not the kind of issues.
those in the
Wait a
South,
minute.
Paul.
Wait a minute. Those are not the kind of issues that Brother Bay brings to this platform. He's bringing issues that really only address that only concern the problems of black people. You're talking about issues and you're talking about policies that have little or nothing to do with black people.
I'm talking about the people, the black people that have been left behind by our own people. That's what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about moving forward with a plan that's going to reunite us and put us in, and take back everything that was taken away from us in slavery, from our ancestors.
Yeah, but you're talking
Pride,
about
the dignity, the trust, all of that stuff that was stripped away from our ancestors, we have to restore it. And living in the past is not going to help us restore it. We have to start living in the now and in the future.
yeah.
And then when we live in the future, we can still educate people about the inventions and the successes and stuff that people made under distress while they were in captivity, enslaved, in a time when things wasn't popular for us. But since the 1900s, what have we invented that's good for America that we could have got a patent on? We didn't get enough patent. We didn't get no patent on the stuff that we invented back in the day. The man that invented the blood transfusion, the first open heart, and all that stuff is out there, and that's the stuff that they don't want to teach their children through CRT in the schools today. So we need to be fighting for DEI, CRT, and things of this nature on behalf of black folks, especially criminal justice reform. And I understand after listening to the debate Thursday night, there was no issues on the table that was important to black America. There was issues out there that was important to America. And when they throw us all in the salad bowl together, like the olives, we as black
Well,
people,
Trump said that immigrants was taking black jobs away. That's specifically
Vicente
talking
Fox
about
said
black
it
people.
too. Vicente Fox said it too. He said that the immigrants are coming out.
He didn't
Over,
say black jobs.
yeah, he said they're coming over here to take the jobs that the black people don't want. Now, I understand what you're trying to say.
What
What is
it,
a black job? A black job is anything a black man can do, but it is kept away from it. You
well,
see,
Chuck, it's
and I
4:30.
mentioned things like construction work, railroad work. Those are the things that build black family. The automobile industry, military. Those are the things that build up black families.
Well, Chuck, I admire you,
They're
brother.
not there
I mean,
anymore.
because you do represent people that truly don't have a voice, and it puts you in an even more critically important role in terms of understanding the issues that Brother Bay brings before us
And that's
on the
probably
show.
why I'm going to sound so much like a controversial person.
Well,
Um,
no, I think, but I
but
think
I have to.
what I think Brother Bay is doing, Brother Bay is taking us from and getting us to really look at it from the standpoint of the foundation of this country, and how these issues are foundational,
Yeah,
and
and we've been talking about that for all kinds of leaders have addressed those issues. Excuse me. All kinds of leaders have addressed those issues.
well, I don't know if too many leaders been trying to change the
Well,
Constitution. I don't hear any political
trying to
leaders
change the
talking about
Constitution now. You know
about redressing.
the
I mean,
Constitution
because
changed.
if something was stolen, there's a record of it. Because one thing that people, when people do wrong, they leave notes. So there's a record of those stolen ideas, stolen patents, stolen inventions. There's a record of it. And what I'm saying is we have a government that knows how to uncover those past wrongs and know whether know where to look. And Brother Bay is basically saying, how can we move forward when we haven't addressed those systemic issues of the past that are the foundation as to why we have this gap between the haves and the have-nots, and why black folks in every category, as published every year by the Urban League, that we're at the bottom in every category, educationally, financially. I mean, you name it, health-wise, health outcomes. We're at the bottom, and so I think that we have to first educate ourselves, create an understanding so that we can articulate those issues not in the framework of the two-party system, because it really doesn't matter which party addresses them. I mean, the same pressures can be put on the Republican Party or Independent Party or the Democratic Party, but there has to be first an understanding. And what Brother Bay is doing, just like what he challenges us to do, and I bring a political perspective, you bring a grassroots perspective, and Brother Bay kind of lays out his perspective from that foundational perspective. And so what he's, regardless of the political party, the agenda for black folks to correct those those indigenous wrongs, those wrongs from the beginning. The corrective actions were not corrective actions to address the wrong. Because if the correction action was to correct the wrong, black folks would have been given those 40 acres and that mule. Black folks would have been paid for their labor, but it wasn't. And what he's saying is this government, this government has a responsibility to correct those wrongs. Hell, we're still correcting wrongs on how we look at the money that was paid to the Chinese for wrongs that occurred before our lifetime. It seems like everybody has enough value to look back, but they tell us to get over it.
Right.
They tell us to move on.
Well, let's
So
move
so
on.
that's so that's the perspective
But let's
that.
be smart to move on. Let's get
So
smart to move
no, I
on.
say that's what that. No, I say that's what they tell us to do.
I know, but let's do that.
I don't think that's the smart thing
Um,
to do. I don't think you can move on, because if you move on, what are you moving on to without addressing
You're
the
moving on
the,
towards your
the
independence.
injustices of the past?
Towards your independence. I heard somebody today
Well,
said we.
well, I'll let you go ahead and wrap it up. I've said what I needed to say. Why
Yeah,
don't you go ahead and wrap it up, and we'll
I gotta
call it
run down. I
next
gotta
week.
run down to this Greek rooftop show. They got a Greek show downtown. I want to go take some photos of. But as I was gonna say, we can discuss history, good, but we also need to be talking with somebody. Somebody need to be discussing a way forward, and that's where I am. How do we move forward and create more history? Okay, and this time get patents on the stuff that we start and do. Okay, um, I heard somebody say we celebrated two Independence Days here with Juneteenth and July the 4th, two Independence Days. Now they want to say Juneteenth is a celebration of independence. No, Juneteenth was a celebration of freedom. We have yet to get our independence so that we can enjoy celebrating Black Independence Day. And that's what we need to be trying to focus on. And the way we do that is that we got to take control of our destiny. As Malcolm X has told us, and I've said it many times before, create an industry to support your culture. You see, and stop supporting other businesses that take their money. And I tell you, one of the hardest things to hit black folks when our people left the community and went out there to live with the white folks. They didn't rather than take care of their community, take care of build businesses, build stuff in their own community. No, we got to go out here now. We got the money. We can go out here and live with Akbar. You see, so we people that stand here, we got to start thinking about creating that economy that's a bubble up economy, and that's where I stand with going forward with everything as far as we are doing today. And the meeting yesterday, I got a good receptions from the people at the meeting for the Power One San Antonio,
Mm-hmm.
and I think they're considering partnering up with Beaver to do the voters registration and the education part of it. Get ready for 2024. And I told them that I mentioned you to them. Told them you was a good man to think about putting together a group to do the get out the vote part of it. And I told them the goal is to try to register at least 24 to 2,500 new voters every month between now and October. That should be our goal. So I asked them for, I told them I needed at least 30 individuals here in San Antonio to do that, become deputy registrars and start the process. And then we'll try to mimic it and put it over in Houston, Dallas, and the Dallas Metroplex and Austin.
Well, good deal, Chuck. Well, it's 4:41, and it's been a great show. It's been a great discussion. Uh, our host, Brother Bay, has already signed off, and this is BNN 247. I'm Claude Foster, along with Chuck Slaughter. We'll see you next week.
All right. Good night.
Good night.